Good morning and welcome. I'm over here today, sorry. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit, turning in our gray hymnal to number 203, All Creatures of the Earth and Sky. Please join in singing our opening hymn, number 203. Creatures of the earth and sky, come, kindred, lift your voices high. Alleluia, alleluia, bright burning sun with golden gleam, bright shining moon with silver gleam. Alleluia, 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 alleluia. Swift rushing wind so wild and strong, white clouds that sail in heaven along. Alleluia, alleluia, fair rising morn in praise rejoice. High stars of evening find a voice. Alleluia, 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 alleluia. Cool flowing water, pure and clear, make music for all life to hear. Alleluia, alleluia, dance flame of fire so strong and bright, and bless us with your warmth and light. Alleluia, 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 alleluia. Embracing earth you day by day, bring forth your blessings on our way. Alleluia, alleluia, all herbs and fruits that richly grow, let them the glory also show. Alleluia, 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 alleluia. All you of understanding heart, forgiving others, take your part. Alleluia, alleluia, let all things now in holy bless, and worship God in humbleness. Alleluia, 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 alleluia. Thank you. Please be seated.
Good morning. And welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Ann Arbor. Founded in 1865, we are grounded in community, centered on justice, and lifted by love. I am Barbara Lynn, a lay worship leader, here to greet you and welcome you into our circle. Whether you are here in person, with us in the live stream, or joining us later on demand, your presence is a gift we treasure. If you are new to us, please consider filling out our newcomer survey to help us connect with you. You will find it at UUAA.org/newcomersurvey. If you are a newcomer in the live stream, please introduce yourself in the chat so we can greet you personally. And for those of you here in person, we invite you to join us after the service for our newcomer welcome, where you can learn more about our faith and this congregation. This gathering is held in the Redmond Room, just through these other double doors to your left as you enter the hallway. And someone will be waiting at the door. to welcome you yet again. As summer draws to a close and students begin preparing for the new school year, I remind you that next Sunday is our backpack blessing service. Please bring your book bags, backpacks, and carry-alls for this annual ritual as we shower our youngsters with love and blessings, and a token gift, too. The season for blessings is indeed upon us, as this morning we bless our animal companions. I extend a very warm welcome to our special guests who will be joining us for the in-person animal blessing after the service, some of whom I see have already joined us. We will meet at 12:15 in the social hall. Now, originally we had planned to meet outside behind the social hall, but the recent rains have made it rather sloppy out there, so we will be inside at 12:15. As we move more deeply into our time together, let us reflect upon the act of blessing. It is a lifting up, a gift of grace and honoring. All of this and more we offer each other. We are gathered for worship.
Each and every Sunday, we engage in the ritual lighting of our chalice. The flaming chalice is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, and it means many things to many people. We light our chalice for, among other reasons, the warmth of love. Now, tell me, what in this world better exemplifies the warmth of love than our animal companions? As it happens, yesterday I brought home a foster dog, Bandit, who in about 8 hours went from being deeply anxious and very suspicious of me to absolutely glued to my side and sleeping at my feet. Truly, we do not deserve dogs, y'all. So today, while we strive to live up to our canine companion's example, I would like to invite Tricia Smith and Joachim Nordstrom Smith to join us on the chancel to light our chalice today. Now, as Tricia and Joachim light our chalice here in the sanctuary, we invite our online community to light a chalice of your own, perhaps sharing in the chat the chalice is lit and from where you're joining us today. Will you please join me as we speak together our chalice lighting words? We light this chalice for the light of truth. We light this chalice for the warmth of love. We light this chalice for the energy of action. We light this chalice for the harmony of peace. Thank you, Joachim. Thank you, Tricia. I really do mean that, by the way. We have to strive to do what our animal friends seem to do intuitively. But what better place to do that than in the company of those who share our commitment to transforming our world to one with love at the center? We voice that commitment each week in the words of our covenant. Would you join me in speaking together those words this morning? The spirit of this church is love, and service is its law. This is our covenant with each other, to dwell together in peace, to search for truth in love, and to help one another.
Good morning. It's lovely to be back with you in community. This morning and once a month in our Sunday gatherings, we take a little bit of time to learn more about the social justice work and organizing that is happening in our community. This morning, Cecile Bridges will be sharing with us our social justice connection and sharing some words about UUAA's newly formed Visions of Justice Council. Cecile.
A joyful morning to all of you and the pets. Not sure there are anybody in here, but still. May your day be filled with moments that bring you happiness and joy. My name is Cecile Bridges, and I have the honor of serving as a co-chair of the new vision of Justice Council. I'm thrilled to welcome you to our annual Social Justice Fair, Sunday, September 21st, a celebration we lovingly themed Find Your Beacon. Beacons are more than light. They are a symbol of guidance and hope, helping us through stormy waters and reminding us that even in the darkest time, there is light. Our social justice groups serve as a beacon of hope, guiding us towards equity, healing, and transformation. On Sunday, September 21st, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., you will have the opportunity to meet these groups, learn from them, potentially join them, and their efforts. This year, we also included the children with an activity tables as an important part of our social justice initiative. Each group here stands boldly for anti-racism and anti-oppression, climate action and climate justice, and the unwavering value of radical welcome. These are not just words, they are commitments lived out every day by our dedicated volunteers whose effort deserves to be recognized and celebrated and shared. If you're a newcomer, a curious soul, or someone seeking purpose, this is your invitation. Join us September 21st, anytime between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. Take a moment to explore the tables, hear the group stories, and discover where your passion fits in. We have over 20 social justice groups, so if you're unsure where you fit in, speak up, ask questions, and take a quiz. We have made a quiz for all of you to find the groups that resonate most with your heart. Because justice is not a destination, it is a journey that we walk together. So today, I encourage you, find your beacon, let it guide you, let it inspire you, and let it connect you to the changes we all are capable of doing side by side. The Social Justice Fair Sunday is also Newcomer Sunday, so please invite your friends, relatives, or whoever you want to come and join us. We hope for a whole house with inspired people ready to take on the future, to be an engaged part of our loving community. Thank you.
Our Time for All Ages story this morning prompted a few questions in my mind as I read it. How far would I go for a friend? Can we really believe those RSVPs that tell us, no gifts, your presence is present enough? How might understandings of our relationships change if we could see them from more than our own singular perspective? Today's story for all ages is Alfie, the turtle that disappeared, by Tira Hayter. On my 6th birthday, I got Alfie. The lady at the store said he looked about 6 too. We were 6 together. At home, on my carpet, he stood very still. I introduced him to everyone. I taught him my wiggle dance and made him presents, but he didn't seem to notice. I showed him my costumes and wrote him songs. Mostly, he stayed in his shell. Every day I told him stories, like how Dasha got new overalls, and how Ruth lost a tooth, and how Peter from downstairs got a fish. I even told him my best joke about the walrus wearing pants, but he didn't seem to get it. After a while, I kind of forgot about Alfie. He didn't do much. Well, until the morning of my 7th birthday when he disappeared. When I first saw Nia, I knew she was special. She told me that I was 6, and she was 6 too. I had never been 6 before, but I was happy we were 6 together. Her home tickled my toes, but she smelled nice, so I was pretty calm. She had tons of friends. Nia taught me to dance. I practiced wiggling inside my shell. She gave me presents. I had never been given presents. She made me laugh and laugh and laugh. How could I make her as happy as she made me? I had to think and think and think. Now, Nia was planning her 7th birthday. She told me we were going to be 7 together. I just had to find her a present. There were some good options behind the couch, but they were too dusty, as if one could be such a thing. I looked in all the corners and shadows and cracks and found some great places, but no great presents. I asked Toby, and he said, "You should try outside. Outside is the best. Outside is the best. Get her a stick." I had never been outside before, so I climbed past stinky things and sweet things, but nothing as fun as Nia. I had to keep looking. I had to take a risk. I crunched through the reds and oranges and yellows, but the longer I looked for a special one, the browner they got. I found a nice blue cap, but it was too small for Nia's head. There was nothing in the desert. My toes were cold, and my heart was sad. I would never find a present as special as my friend. The snail said all I needed was a good rest. He knew the perfect place for me to take a nap. Just over those stones, he said. So I napped. And I napped. And I napped. When I woke up, I felt better. I asked the fish for help, and she showed me the things that had fallen to the bottom. And then I saw it. It was perfect. It looked just like something Nia would love. I had to rush to the party. When I finally got over the rocks, the snail said, "That was fast." And I was right on time. There she was. I could tell Nia was very surprised and happy I had brought her the perfect present. Now we were 7 together. The end.
I now invite you into a time of remembering and honoring our pets who have died. It is an inescapable fact that our lifespans extend beyond those of most pets, and many of us have faced this loss, often more than once. As we begin, I share this poem by Nancy Schaefer entitled "Offering for Grief." Look, I have made this bowl for you, this large, dark blue one with lilies etched across the bottom, around the sides. I have cleaned this box of yours, lined it in soft brown wool, have set it here by the stove, warm. You could lie under the mulberry tree at the edge of the garden, wait in grass for lace wings and evening, or lie on the bed, light falling near. Sit on the bureau. What I mean to say is, I will make a place for you. And now we too will make a place for our grief as we remember and honor the animal companions who have left our side. Their passing may have been very recent or from some time ago. But the space left behind remains, and in our remembering, we make room for healing. If you are watching in the live stream and have a pet you wish to honor, please let us know in the chat what kind of pet and their name, and we will hold that memory with you. For those in the sanctuary, you may place on our memory altar a photo of your deceased pet or an item of theirs you have with you. There's also a bowl of stones. If you wish to honor a pet but did not bring a memento, feel free to come up and take a stone and place it on the altar in remembrance. You will find small pieces of paper there as well if you wish to write your pet's name. Both stones and paper are available at each end of the table. Please come up to the remembrance altar at your own pace. There is no need to rush. And please allow space to open up ahead of you before you approach the table. And if you would like assistance in placing something on the altar, raise your hand, and we will come to you. Let's begin. Thank you, beloveds. We have brought our memories and our sorrows into this space, creating together, out of our gathered offerings, something new and alive. It may be that out of everyone in this room, you alone hold the memory of the pet you have memorialized here. Yet on this altar, our losses have been conjoined, and so we hold each other in grief. I invite you to come up at the end of the service to witness this collective outpouring of our love. And if you left a memento you wish to keep, remember to take it home with you.
Our animal companions give us so much over the course of their lives. And in that similar way in which other beings have loved us, shown up for us, been present to us, we, over the course of our lives, are present to so many others, human beings and other kinds of beings. Here in community, we show up for one another in ways that make a difference in one another's lives, through times of hardship, through times of learning and growth, through times of joy and celebration. We also show up and pool our resources so that collectively we may make a larger difference in the world than any one of us might ever make alone. It's in that spirit we move into our time of offering this morning. In just a moment, our ushers will come down the aisles to collect this morning's offering if you're here with us in person. And if you're a guest, you're just getting to know us, by all means, feel free to allow the basket to pass you by with no obligation. We are delighted that you've chosen to be here and are taking the time to get to know us better. If you're joining us online or choose to give electronically, you may do so in a number of ways, one of which is by texting UUAA to 73256 and selecting the weekly offering as the fund that you'd like to donate to. You can also go to the congregation's website, uuaa.org/giving, and there you'll have the opportunity to make a donation as well. This morning's offerings from our community will now be gratefully received. As our ushers bring forth this morning's collection, I invite you to rise in body or spirit. Let us join our hearts as well as our voices together as we offer these words of dedication. To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives and these our offerings. Please be seated. As some of us know, over the past several years, we've been deepening opportunities for lay members in our community, congregants like each of you here, to be able to participate in Sunday worship and, as called, to offer reflections. It is a particular joy for me that we've been able to move into this depth and richness as I came into Unitarian Universalist leadership exactly through that route, as originally being a lay leader in Sunday worship services. It's also a beautiful opportunity for me to get to know some of you more richly and deeply as I learn about your life stories and your life journey. And I had such an opportunity working closely in preparation for today's service in getting to know Camille Ward. Would you join me in welcoming one of your own, one of our congregants, Camille Ward, into the pulpit this morning? He'll be sharing some reflections with us.
Thank you, Manish, for that warm welcome. I've had many animal friendships throughout my life, cats, birds, and especially dogs. My connection with animals goes all the way back to when I was about 4 or 5 years old. I remember one moment in particular. A little dog was sitting on a porch, shivering in the rain, trying to get inside the house. They were small, about the size of a chihuahua, and looked cold and scared. I felt so sorry for them. I walked up to comfort the dog, and as I bent down to pet them, they snapped and bit me in the cheek. Thinking back, that was probably the last thing a frightened, cold dog wanted in the moment, and they let me know. I remember thinking at the time, I hope this dog doesn't get into trouble. I wasn't scared or mad, just worried about the dog. As a child, I desperately wanted a dog of my own. I got my first dog, Elfie, when I was 11. He was a beautiful, buff Cocker Spaniel, and he became my confidant, my best friend, and my first real teacher and what it means to care for and love another being. Elfie was with me for 13 years. But the dog who truly changed the direction of my life came along when I was a young adult. I was a graduate student studying crow behavior at the University of Michigan when we got Marty, a yellow Labrador Retriever puppy. He joined my husband, Don, and me at just 8 weeks old, and he was a tornado of trouble and charm. At 6 months old, he stole a 3-cheese pizza off the kitchen counter and ate most of it before we even realized it was gone. He once got into a bag of scones and ate 6 full-sized ones. He also shredded a brand new comforter we had just bought, one we had for less than a week. There were many times I muttered to myself, Marty, what have we gotten ourselves into with you? Despite all of this, Marty brought a sense of joy and lightness into our lives that was truly contagious. Every day was a great day in Marty's world. Every person was a friend he just hadn't met yet. He was the ultimate extrovert, and his exuberance made it easier for me to connect with others. Strangers would approach us to meet him, and suddenly I had a new dog friend. Marty was like a living, tail-wagging invitation to community. Marty also had a fiercely independent streak. He listened when he felt like it. Sometimes he'd come when called, but not if he were in the middle of doing something more interesting. He was easy to train using food. He was a lab, after all. But I often had to find the best treat and work really hard to convince him it was worth his time. That was all on me. At the time, I thought his independence and low desire to please might mean that, although Marty was super sweet, he might just not be that smart. I'll swing back around to this last point in a minute. I had little idea at the time, but Marty was about to change everything for me. It was because of him that I found myself wanting to learn more about who he was, what mattered to him, what he knew, and how he experienced the world. I remember thinking, what must it be like to experience the world from a dog's point of view? It's not something most of us stop to think about. We're usually busy telling our dogs to sit, stay, come, lie down, stop barking, stop eating that, don't jump up, blah, 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 blah. Honestly, how boring for them. They're just being dogs. But who are dogs really? These questions eventually led me to pursue a PhD focused on canine cognition and behavior. I became especially interested in how dogs process quantities. Being able to judge the difference between quantities is one measure of intelligence in animals. Around that time, there were studies coming out showing that chimpanzees and orangutans could tell the difference between quantities and that their accuracy depended on the ratio of items being compared. So, for example, it was easier for an ape to discriminate the larger quantity of two choices when 1 versus 4 items were being compared rather than 3 versus 4 items. But with dogs, we didn't know yet if they could do that. So I set out to find out, and Marty became one of my first test subjects. To my surprise, Marty did really well. His performance was on par with the apes in those studies. This was around 2005, and it was a new discovery in the field. I remember thinking, wow, what else have I gotten wrong about Marty? I had lived with this dog for 8 years and was only just beginning to see him clearly, without my own human biases clouding the picture. That moment was a wake-up call for me. If it was that easy for me to form an automatic bias about my own dog, one I loved and lived with daily, what other assumptions was I making? Not just about other dogs, but about other animals, people, communities. It was a moment that made me stop and pay closer attention. Marty taught me to question my assumptions and to look more carefully. That lesson has stayed with me ever since. Marty went on to live a life full of fun, purpose, and connection. He helped me teach animal behavioral classes at the University of Michigan. He participated in research studies, and his name is in the peer review literature on canine cognition. He was the youngest therapy dog at the University of Michigan Hospital at the time. He also competed in the sport of agility, earned obedience titles, and brought joy to so many people. He passed away peacefully at 13 and a half, surrounded by love. And I will always be grateful to him. He was my teacher, my companion, and my true friend. He helped me grow in ways I never expected. Thank you, sweet, sweet Marty. You'll always be part of my heart until we meet again, dear one. Thank you.
Thank you, Camille, for sharing Marty with us. One of my close friends calls dogs like Marty our heart dogs or heart animals, the very special animal that holds an unrivaled place in our hearts and in our spirits. Other animals may come and go and they are beloved, but there's often that one that leaves a special, indelible mark. My heart dog is Luke, who I've talked about from the pulpit before, and maybe I'll share a little story about him again today. So, taking some inspiration from Camille about how animals can be teachers and helpers for us human beings, I wanted to share a little bit on this Animal Blessing Sunday about the role of animals and animal companions in our lives as teachers and helpers, and in particular, drawing on indigenous Native American spiritualities in which this is a well-established concept. Often the shorthand language for this is spirit animals, or animals as having animals as spirit helpers, conveyors of wisdom, learning, this kind of thing, teachings. So I want to take a few moments to share a little bit about this. In the Native American traditions of North America, we encounter spirit animals in a number of ways. It's understood that human beings and the animal world, meaning all other beings that are non-human, have a close interrelationship, so much so that we human beings can have names and be named after particular animals and qualities of animals. Now I'm going to make some up, but it's to give you a little bit of an idea. They could be something like talking robin or singing wolf or laughing coyote, an animal plus a particular quality, and the name is often bestowed or offered to you by an elder or a spiritual teacher, and it's given as a gift and an encouragement for you to be in deeper relationship with the nature of that animal and the quality that's been described, to understand more deeply who you yourself are, who you might be. So it's understood in these Native American traditions that animals have different aspects, they have different natures, and so do we as human beings, and that we can learn more about ourselves by being in touch with the particular animals who may possess qualities that are similar to our own. In these traditions, names, by the way, are not fixed. So you are continually, over the course of a lifespan, discovering or being gifted new names for yourself, new names to be in relationship with and learn more about. When those names include an animal, the invitation is to learn more about the animal, to observe it out in its natural environment, to be with it if that is possible, and see what wisdom it might hold for you. Now, being able to learn from animals through naming and naming ceremonies, that's one way, but it's not the only way that animal helpers or animal spirits show up in the Native traditions. The animal itself can choose you and start to show up. They can start to appear in your life and invite you to be in relationship with them in some way. And when that occurs in these traditions, the energy of an animal, its essential qualities, its essential ways of being, these things are considered medicine, and they're referred to that way as medicine. That if we learn from the energies, the teachings of these animals, we may be healed, we may be transformed in some meaningful and deep and profound way. So these traditions talk not just about spirit animals, but they also talk about animal medicine, the learning, the growth, the healing that we can obtain from our relationship with these animals. Now, I've often heard from people who don't know the Native American, North American traditions well. You hear at times people say things like they're going to find their spirit animal. It doesn't quite work that way. It's not something you go out and find. And in general, this is almost an axiom for all things related to the spiritual life. If you have to work really hard at something, that thing may not be quite right for you. And so trying to make something happen, trying to exert one's will and find a spirit animal is typically not the way to go. Rather than trying to find a spirit animal, we more generally relax and focus on noticing, on paying attention. Are there particular animals that are showing up in our life in maybe a way that is trying to grab our attention, to try and get us to notice them in some way, shape, or form? And there's often two things that might occur if there's a particular animal that's seeking our relationship or attention. So the two things to look for are patterns and timing. Patterns can include repeated appearances in a way that catches our attention, in a way that isn't necessarily typical. So if your backyard has a family of deer living in it and you happen to see deer all the time in your backyard, that's not unusual or atypical. You have a family of deer living in your backyard. But if you don't have a family of deer or a family of ducks or any other animal, and suddenly you start noticing, wait, there's a duck over here, and there's a deer over here, or there's a frog over here, and you maybe doesn't have to only be appearances physically, maybe stories about the same, or images about the same, or songs that reflect these animals. The more there are appearances in an unatypical way of the same animal, it can be the case that that animal is trying to get your attention or be in relationship with you. That's the noticing of patterns that can be atypical. So in my life, when I was early in my ministry, this is maybe, approaching 20 years ago, 18 to 20 years ago, I was living in Florida, and I started noticing ducks appearing everywhere in ways that didn't quite feel typical. I noticed ducks a lot. And so much so that I turned to one of my spiritual teachers and I said, what are ducks about if ducks start appearing in your life? And it was interestingly so appropriate to where I was in my journey as a community leader and as a ministry leader. Ducks are considered in the Native traditions to represent emotion, and not just emotion, but community. They live on water. Water is considered an element that's deeply associated with emotional life, and they are very comfortable with water, and they're also a flock animal, so they're considered to be in community. So it's about being in community and being in emotional life together. How does a duck live amidst that? And the more one starts to notice, be in relationship with, study the particular animal that's showing up to grab our attention, you might learn specific things. Ducks don't skirt above emotion. They don't just live on top of the water. They dive into it. They become very comfortable diving into the depths of the water, right? So there's things that they can model and teach for us if we start to get into the wisdom of what is a duck about? What is a duck's way of life about? And what does it mean for us as human beings? Another animal that came to me by way of naming is that of a wolf. I am wolf pack or wolf clan, and as one of my teachers gave me that gift of the animal of wolf, I took time to learn more about wolves. And no sooner did that naming, that inclusion come, then wolves began to appear everywhere. Not physical wolves, but stories about wolves or songs that included things about wolves. Wolves are also a pack animal, similar to ducks, being in flocks. They are also community-oriented. They're considered exceptionally smart, much smarter than your average dog. And in the Native American traditions, wolves are healers. They're associated not just with community, but with the energy of service, of showing up in a way that involves healing. By virtue of being engaged in Native American ceremonies and rituals, through ceremony, I noticed subsequently that snakes as an image kept coming up over and over again. So again, not necessarily the physical appearance of a snake, though that could also be the case, but snakes as imagery, as a spirit animal and an energy to kind of learn about and work with, which was interesting because I've typically been very afraid of snakes. I haven't really liked them. But in taking some time and taking years to really just be close and learn more about snakes, you learn about their amazing ability to transform, to take skins that are worn, that are no longer needed, the thing that we no longer may need about ourselves, the thing that we have outgrown, and to wriggle free of those skins that we no longer need, to grow fresh skin, to be new in the world again, to be reborn. What an amazing spiritual metaphor that is for us human beings who have to repeatedly learn how to grow beyond our own limitations. As you go deep into the watching, the closeness, being up close with a snake, you begin to notice how close they live. They're among the animals that live most closely to Mother Earth, on the ground itself. Not just that, but finding rest within the mother itself, living inside Mother Earth, finding rest and repose and replenishment in there. If you think of a coiled snake living inside a burrow, what wisdom might that hold for us about how we can find replenishment and renewal ourselves in getting close, really up close to our natural environment, learning how to rest and find repose in it. Any or all of these animals, as we pay attention, as we notice what's showing up, have wisdom that they can offer us. Now, another way, not just patterns related to animals, but timing can be an invitation from an animal for us to notice them as well. And one of the most common ways that I've heard over dozens of years in ministry is that particularly around the time of a loved one's death, if a loved one had a favorite animal, a bird or a pet or a natural animal that they, out in the wild, that they had some kind of connection or relationship with, it is an exceptionally common story to hear that others will start to see that animal or that bird or that creature appear. And this happened, in fact, this summer. Our family, in our extended family, there was a death of a loved one, and that loved one had a favorite hedgehog that lived in her backyard that she had a connection to. And I can't remember the last time I've seen a hedgehog out in the wild. It's been maybe longer than a decade. And 2 days after this loved one died, one of my kids and I found a hedgehog just lying about, waiting for us to notice it. These things that we often dismiss, unusual timing or patterns of appearance, we dismiss them as coincidence, and yet they can be the energy of the animal itself inviting us to notice them because they have something for us, a message, a communication, wisdom for us to learn, a teaching or a lesson. Not just animals in the wild, because of course many of us already might have animal companions living with us in our homes, and those animal companions are also teachers and helpers. Now, they're a different kind of teacher and helper than the spirit animals that might grab our attention more organically. The animals we choose to have live with us, they're a bit like the way a child teaches a parent as much as a parent learns from a child. In a similar way, the animals that we invite into our home lives, they very frequently have things that they teach us as much as we may care for and love them. They have things they can teach us about love, about mutuality, about patience, about spontaneity, and even joy. One of my favorite stories, my heart dog, Luke, who's been deceased for many years now. But way back in the day, earlier in my ministry days, I had an aquarium, a freshwater aquarium. Those of you that have had aquariums, you know the immense amount of work that fish are. They often take more work than having a pet cat. But I had an aquarium, and within that aquarium was a long, very active, wriggly fish called a weather loach. Well, it depended. They're called weather loach for a reason. It depends on the weather, on the barometric pressure. They respond to that, and they're more active dependent on that. My dog, Luke, who was about a 75, 80-pound behemoth of a dog, this dog and the fish were fast friends. I would not have believed this if I had not seen it with my own eyes, that a fish and a dog could be friends. And they were. And not just that, but they found joy and spontaneity in their friendship. The dog would go to the aquarium. This fish would bury itself in the gravel. The dog would go to the aquarium to look for the weather loach. Like, where is it? Where has it buried itself today? And it would, when it eventually would find it, the weather loach, the fish would notice. And then they would have a little stare off at each other, and the dog would be very happy staring at this fish. And then the weather loach would decide it's time to play. And it would wriggle around the tank really fast on purpose to get the dog all excited. And the dog would get excited and start jumping up and down and barking at the weather loach. And I watched this so often over months and years that I figured out that they're doing this on purpose. This is their way of kind of playing with each other. They notice each other, they communicate, and then they have this little play of essentially jumping up and down near each other. It was one of the most remarkable things I've ever seen, that the spontaneity that across species that I didn't even know fish can have friends. My fish had a friend. Across species, the spontaneity, the friendship, the joy that's possible. What a beautiful thing this is. These relationships can be. So as we close today, I want to leave you with a question to reflect on as families, as congregants of all ages. What have your animal companions or animal helpers that maybe have shown up spontaneously, what have they invited you to learn in your own life? What medicine, what teachings or opportunities for learning and growth have they brought you? Take a little time today to reflect on that, because no doubt there is wisdom and learning there. May we each hold gratitude for whatever that is, whatever that medicine is that our animals have brought to us.
Friends, I invite you to stand as you're comfortably willing and able, turning in our gray hymnal to number 175. As we sing together, we celebrate the web of life in the gray hymnal, number 175.
Fragment
Please remain standing. And if you're around, for a little bit after the service today, please do stay and join us for 12:15 for our time for animal blessing. If you're at home right now and are planning on coming over, come on over. We'll be blessing animals in just a little bit. Respect the water, land, and air which gave all creatures, including ourselves, birth. Protect the lives of all that share the glory of the earth. Carry that wisdom with you, knowing and trusting that when we do so, when we strive to be in meaningful, good, loving, caring, healthy relationship with the creatures of this earth, that mutuality leads to beautiful things, to a richness and depth in our lives which helps us as humans learn and grow. May we live into that fully, deeply, and well. Go in love and peace until we are together again.